Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shalom. May God bless you. God be with you. How you guys are doing today? It has been a long time that I couldn't able to connect you, and we did start the chapter Mark, and I did post two videos um, regarding Mark chapter one. I'm not sure that you could able to listen or at least to follow the second video because it was blocked by Sony Musicals due to the um, the initial or the music that played was not copyrighted or something. So they just blocked the video. So I was wondering that you did you watch my second video of Mark chapter 1, or if not, I'm going to recap the second video of the Mark chapter 1, and also I'm going to add some more things for this week to close the Mark chapter 1. As we all knew that Mark, um, the Gospels, we do not know who wrote those Gospels, but they just named the Gospels according to the content they read, according to the flow, and the intention. So based on so many criteria, they named the Gospels um, as Mark, Luke, Matthew, and John. But actually, no one knew who wrote those Gospels. As we said that, as we already told about that one, we talked something about God the Messiah, how Jesus was not the Messiah, how Jesus was not meeting the criteria which was mentioned in the Tanakh or Torah, where Jewish people are not accepting Jesus as their Messiah because Jesus was failing in each and every criteria was mentioned in the Tanakh as a Messiah. And also Jesus did not fulfill the prophecies regarding the Messiah. So Jewish people they rejected Jesus as the Messiah. So, having said that, we covered that was a first time video, and the second video we covered um, some important things about Son of God. Was Jesus really Son of God? How we can tell that Jesus was kind of Son of God? Because God calls everyone as His children. We all are His children. There is no difference between um, the among the people, whether whatever the country you belong to or wherever you are attached to, everyone belongs to God, and God calls us as children. In that case, how come Jesus was only addressed Son of God? Did God address anybody in Old Testament before Jesus was born? Yes, He did address some of the people in the Old Testament as Son of God. God addresses always whoever was very close to Him or very near to Him or close to His heart. He calls them or He describes them as Son of God. So let us see some of the words that God called son of God, son of him, or son or children of God or son of God. Let's see that verse. The first one was Exodus 4:22. I'm going to read it while I'm talking to you guys. The first one was the Exodus 4th chapter, and the verses from 22 onwards. Exodus chapter 4. Oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm kind of taking a little bit of time to get this quite out. And Exodus chapter 4. Yes. All right, let's go. Chapter 4 on verse 22. God calls, right? And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. அப்பொழுது நீ பார்வோனோடு சொல்ல வேண்டியது என்னவென்றால், இஸ்ரவேல் என்னுடைய குமாரன், என் சேஷ்டபுத்திரன். Look at this. God addresses Jewish nation or Israel people as his firstborn, as his son. So God always called people, the nation or the group, totally together as a son or children of him or son of God. So Israel, basically the whole nation, was addressed singularly, collectively as son of God. He is, or he was, the firstborn of God. That's what God was talking. So when we claim in the New Testament that Jesus was the Son of God, already God mentioned, or God called Son of God. Everybody in the world are called children of God. Let us see in also one more reference. A couple of more references we can go and see in also in Second Samuel. We can read, I think the chapter I got messed up, that's why I'm not giving the exact date and time in the chapter. I think in the Second Samuel, God called Solomon as, or describes Solomon as his son. So again, God calls the people, those who are closer to him, as his own son. And also in Jeremiah 31:9, and God calls Israel again as his firstborn son. Let us read that word. That is really very cool word. I always like that word. And let's read that word. So God called Israel again in Ephraim. I mean um, in Jeremiah 31:9. Let's go and take the verse. I'm operating my own self here. That's why I'm having a lot of timing. I'm buying a lot of time from you guys. So bear with me. If you are smart enough, just go and choose the words, is what I'm telling to you. That'll be easy for you. So, what it is. All right. Now, oh my goodness. Again, I make the same mistake and again because every time when I go there, it's always you need to choose um, this and this, Jeremiah, and it's differently. 31. All right, let's go. In Jeremiah 31:9, it says that they shall come with weeping, and with supplications will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am the father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. நான் இஸ்ரவேலுக்கு பிதாவா இருக்கிறேன், எப்ராஹிம் என் சிரேஷ்ட புத்திரனா இருக்கிறான். Look at God calls everyone, or at least the people, those who are closer to him, as his own son, as his own child. So Jesus was the son of God. That's what the problem, because when Jesus was telling that he is the son of God, Jewish people never accepted. Why? God already called them as son of God. They're also son of God. We also son of God. God already called us as son of God. How come you tell me, or you come and tell me I am the son of God? That, see the confusions, see the arguments going on. See, because there is no explanation for this thing from Jesus that he is the son of God, because Israel is already called as was already called as a child of God, as son of God. Think about these guys. So don't think that it is always in a criticizing way, or it is always finding faults or anything, but we are finding the facts. Think about that and think logically. It would help you in your future life, so that you can understand God more and more. You would develop a closer relationship with God, and I'm guaranteeing on that. And you will have a lot of interesting benefits that you would never even seen before in your life, if you search God and find who is the right God, and who you when you start obeying yourself and following his words and observing his commandments. I'm 100% guarantee that God will take care of you. All right. So that's the thing. So the Son of God, was Jesus Son of God? Everybody is children of God. Everyone is child of God. Israel was the firstborn. Ephraim was the firstborn. I'm not telling it. The verse says that. Jeremiah 31:9, Exodus 4:22, 2 Samuel about Solomon. Think about this one and analyze yourself. All right. Mark is mentioning these things in his verse. Mark is also going to also, um, one more thing, that in the Mark first chapter, Mark is addressing that there will be a proclamation of from a prophet, claiming that Messiah is going to come in. The one who comes after him is going to be mightier one than him. He's going to perform the mighty things. So that's the main thing that Mark was writing in his gospel, mentioning John as the prophet, then who comes before Jesus and announcing where this idea came, where this type of thought process came that a prophet or should announce before the Messiah comes in. Where the idea comes, obviously the idea came from the Old Testament, the Tanakh, the Torah. That's where, because remember, Bible, the Christian Bible, the New Testament, and the Quran, all both of them are completely influenced from the Old Testament. There is nothing new in the New Testament, or even in the Quran is completely corrupted. It came after 600 years. So in this one, New Testament is totally influenced by the Old Testament, and you would never ever see anything new in the New Testament. If it is new, it is not true. So basically, everything, every word, everything is fabricated, everything is rewritten, everything is thoughtfully, sculptured in the New Testament. That's what we are seeing. See, the idea of claiming a prophet before the Messiah comes, that's in Malachi. That's in the Old Testament. Malachi chapter 1, 3, and also Malachi chapter 3, 24, and 4 and 5. It says that prophet Elijah, Malachi is claiming that Elijah is going to come back because Elijah was taken from the earth while he was alive. So Malachi is claiming before the Messiah comes in, Elijah should come and he should proclaim the Messiah is going to come in. That's the Malachi's the final word. The same concept being introduced, Mark is addressing same thing, and because they already read all those things, they knew all these things because it is even whether they are read or not, because it is in the practice, it is in the expectations of the Jewish culture. So Mark knew all these things, so he wrote it that he addressed John as the prophet Elijah, comparing to prophet Elijah that proclaiming Jesus. Look at that. John already told. So Jesus is a prophet. Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is the Messiah to save the kingdom or the people of Israel. That's what the Mark claim is. Well, whenever the book was written before, when in those days, it would get scrutinized at least 10 to 20. It takes like a couple of decades. So if you see the gospels gap between Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, exactly it will be like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, or something. The gaps will be there because by the time the next author emerges and writes his opinion or his ideas, he already completely analyzed thoroughly with what was said and how it was put in the previous book, so he would avoid certain things and also add certain things in his book so that he could sell his book much more better than the previous one. So that's what happening here. So Mark is telling Elijah. John is the comparatively said about Elijah because Mark got the idea from Micah, right? Or Micah. So he got the idea from there. So he takes the idea. It is not that people always say that. See, when they read it in the New Testament, they immediately say, look at that. It's written in Old Testament also. No, no, no. It should be written in Old Testament. Anything if you wanted to do in New Testament, it should be already written in the Old Testament, or it should have happened in the Old Testament era. If not, what you're writing is going to be nullified, it's going to be compromised, it's not going to be accepted. So they're basically taking that idea of the New Testament, Old Testament, and putting in the New Testament. So Mark is case. So now, when these arguments are going on, now you cannot compare Malachi and Elijah and what Mark was telling John as John the Baptizer as Elijah. The problem is Malachi, he completely tells exactly Elijah is coming by himself. There is no spirit is going to come before him. He's telling that Elijah is going to show up. It's not he's going to send the spirit to the world to pronounce or to claim that Messiah is going to come. So it's very clear in Malachi. So he didn't realize, Mark didn't realize, Mark just wrote it that John the Baptizer is the Elijah. He compared like that, right? So now, after 20 years or something, when Luke writes his gospel, Luke takes this one and he sees that, oh, no, no, no. it is not John. He's kind of feeding in something differently. What he feeds, he says that no, it's not the Elijah is John, but it's the spirit of Elijah was put into John. That's what he was speaking. It's about the spirit of Elijah. That's what we are talking about. So now look at that. Now, one form to another form, one entity to the another entity now, so that you could accept. So both are not accepting the same factors. Mark is telling he is Elijah. Luke is telling he is the spirit of Elijah. So because he is trying to kind of um, you know uh, kind of working with all these Malachi statements and everything, so that in order to not to make the confusion, because he was not Elijah, so Luke wrote that he was the spirit of. So the Jewish people got very much confused. What is this? Why these many confusions? Why these many questions are coming in each and every time when they bring in certain things? So Jewish people, they knew already what Malachi wrote. They knew already what Mark said. They knew already what now Luke is telling. So it is better. What we'll do? Let's go and talk to John himself. So what they did, they went in. Um, talk to John himself. Even Matthew wrote in his chapter. And even Malachi, if you go and read in 3:24 or 4:5, you will see what exactly Malachi wrote. So finally, the Jewish people, what they did, let's go and talk to John himself. So they go and question John, who are you? John goes, they ask, are you the Elijah? John says purely, no, 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 no. I am not the prophet Elijah, and I am not the spirit of Elijah. I am John the Baptizer. So he just openly tells it out. Go and read John chapter 1 and verse 21. In that John openly neglects. So when openly John is denying that he is not the spirit and he is not the Elijah, then how could Luke wrote in his book that he is the spirit of Elijah? Look at the controversies. You need to give ears how these things were written in those days. See, you need to pay attention how the books were written those days, and how the books authors are writing their books. Even now in the market, how people are attracting you to buy the books, to sell the books. So you need to know what all those techniques that what they do on a marketing side of it. So you see that John is right, clearly telling, I am not the guy, I am not Elijah, I'm not the spirit of Elijah. Please, please take a note on this one. Again and again, I insist you, this is not the criticism, this is not putting everybody down here or anything. This is about for you to go and research something and find the way to go to the right God or the true God, or the final, ultimate, the eternal God. So that's your time, that's your way of dealing it. But I'm giving you hints to walk through this one, so that you can easily go there. So this is one way it's going on, right? And Mark first chapter in the Mark also first chapter, it tells that when Jesus, and John was baptizing, the whole nation got baptized. Everybody was baptized, like but that was not true. It was not true at all. Not everybody went for the baptism to take in Jerusalem people and everything. But Mark, in the first chapter, he tells it everybody went, from to take, or the country of Judea and the city of Jerusalem people went to take the baptism. No, in Luke chapter 7, verse 30 says that Pharisees and the teachers of Torah were not baptized by John. Again, I'm telling to you, Luke chapter 7:30 says, because Luke knew this already. Mark wrote something, and it makes a lot of controversies in the Jewish community, and now Luke's getting awakened now. Oh, no, 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 what Mark wrote is wrong, so let me go and correct it. Now he writes in his book saying that Luke 7:30, he says that, oh no, Pharisees and the teachers of the Torah were not baptized by John. See? So, see the controversy. See how they're trying to sell these things in the market at the time period, how it is getting corrected according to the situations, according to the comments, or according to the opinions coming out of their writings. and they change it. That's how it changes, kept on changing. That's why you see Luke writes one, Mark writes one, Matthew writes one, and John writes one. If you talk to any Christian scholars, they would say, "Oh no, no, brother, you need to take only Mark as Mark, Luke as Luke, Matthew as Matthew." It is not possible, because these are all called, some of them are called synoptic gospels. Synoptic gospels, because optic, because everything or four of them happens at the same time, or maybe they recorded all of the incidents in all three gospels, and one of the gospel is not given. So there are some synoptic gospels also there. So you need to compare and see what's exactly going in this, or what is happening in these places. I'm giving you just an idea to work on these, because you know what, we are so much interested in so many other things, we don't spend time to read these things, right? So Jesus, and also, when John was telling in the Mark chapter first, it's right, Mark writes, when John was telling, the one who comes after me is mighty one than me. John is basically comparing himself to God. That's absolutely wrong. John is a human being. God is an eternal God, right? He's not a human. But John is trying to compare and addressing him, Jesus, as God, saying that the one who comes after me is mightier than me. He's going to perform the mightier things than me. He's wrong. Obviously, whether you say it or not, when you compare to you and a God, of course, God is a mighty God. That's what John is automatically declaring, that the person. So they're elevating the Jesus position into John, just saying that the one who coming behind me is, is the he can do the mighty thing. Yeah, um, there should be only one God. There shouldn't be like million gods there. There should not be like three or four gods. You see, if you believe, so God is already a concept. It's a concept. No one knew that God has a real body or he dresses like us. No, God is always in the, even the Old Testament. If you see, He is like a light, He is like a wind, He is like a thunder, He is like, those are the natural way of collectively, describing God, because He's eternal. You cannot describe Him. No one has seen God. So when God is in such a form, so what we think that there should be only one God to operate the whole world. That's why the reason Abraham was chosen by God, because when Abraham and Terah, was his father, when they were living in the city of Uz, the whole world was filled with so many pagan gods. The world was completely covered with the pagan gods, and Abraham's dad or father was selling the statues. He was selling the statues. Is a statue, is a sculpture. So he was having a big factory, and he was you know designing and architecting, or telling us sculpturing the statues and selling to the people, those who wanted. So, but there are different gods, there are different shapes and different phases. So Abraham did not accept this one. Abraham couldn't convince with all this multiple god system or polytheistic god or something. But Abraham completely and finally he identified there should be only one God to operate this old world. Otherwise, the world will be in a chaotic situation. This thought process came to Abraham. There is a story about Abraham in the oral Torah, which is not said in the real written Torah or written Bible. It's not there. But in the oral Torah, you would see the Abraham story, how he broke all his father's statues, and how the father, he went and report about Abraham to the king Nimrod, or I mean the king, and took him and put him in the fire, and Abraham came out with nothing happened in the fire when he was in that. So see, there is a story told in the oral Torah if you read it. So basically, so when Abraham identified there should be only one God. That's what God called, God's attention was falling on Abraham. It was not that simply people would say in New Testament, it was about the faith of Abraham. No, God saw these things are happening when he found only one God should be there. That caught the attention of God. It took like more than 2,000 years for a man to turn back and find out there should be only one God. So God was so gave everything to man to find everything about him, but man wasn't doing the exact thing until unless Abraham was coming into the picture. So Abraham was the first person who found out that there is only one God. That's why God's attention fell on Abraham, and he selected Abraham for that. It is not about the faith. Of course, Abraham had faith in God. There's no problem. But before the faith, he took all these steps to get the faith level. So that's what I'm telling to you guys. You need to search God. You don't have to believe what people say. You don't have to believe. The belief system should never give you any conclusive definitions or anything. You If you wanted to find God, if you wanted to search God, you need to search God by yourself, which is right, which is not right. So should be only one God. That's what it is. So even in Zechariah 14:9, God is described as only one God. Jeremiah 31:33, Zephaniah 3:9, Isaiah 66:3. This all talks about there is only one God, there is no other God in the world. Go and check it. The whole world will come into the knowledge of God in the final days. It's going to happen. In the final days, this is one of the messianic prophecy that in the final days, the whole world will brought into the knowledge and the understanding of only one God. I would say this Zechariah 8:23. If you go and read that, it says that on the final day, or in the final days, every tribal, every people among the world, there will be at least 10 people from each tribe will be going to a Jew and holding or trying to hold the hem of the Jewish garment, and they would say that we found that your God is a true God. Would you please take along with you? Would you please accept among you? That's what is going to happen. It's not my thought process or nothing. It is written in the Old Testament. It is written in the Tanakh. You should go and read that one. But most of the people, they won't preach on these things. So what I'm telling is there should be only one God. That God is only the Hashem. But the whole chapter Mark was trying to prove, Jesus is the Son of God and Jesus was the Messiah. So many things. So what we thought is this is the one. Okay, redemption should happen. People think that redemption, oh, we need to have redemption, we need to have some atonement or something. That's why the Jesus. No, redemption will happen only when Israel turns back to God. Right now, Israel is completely away from God and His commandments. Redemption will happen only when Israel turns back to God. Remember these folks, because Israel is expected to do certain things on this world. I'm telling to you again and again, there are certain protocols, there are some criteria, there are some commandments that God gave mankind to follow, observe in their daily life. We corrupted it, we missed it, totally we missed it. We used our human brain and human knowledge to invent so many things. We thought that we are going to completely take over the world and the space and the galaxies and the Milky Way galaxies. We are going to rule everything. We can easily solve the problems. No, not at all. Till date, everything is in a chaotic situation with the human mind. If the mankind would have observed, if the mankind would have followed, if the mankind would have accepted the word of God in those days, they followed, they obeyed the word of God, and they strictly observed in the same way what they're supposed to do, I don't think so we will be in this situation today. We are in a very, very dangerous situation. Artificial intelligence is taking over the world right now. It's going to take over everywhere in every job market. There'll be so many job market will be vanishing just like that. At the same time, the new job markets will be coming there. You could even see right now how many openings in the media itself. You see, there are those days people used to study for some higher educations to earn money. Now you don't need an education to earn money. You can do anything you want in the media, and you can make money, and you can live. Look at the changes by yourself in this world. It's going to get more worse and worse because of the human is going to be completely eradicated by the robots and the artificial intelligence. Until now, you don't understand. Still, you're still in the belief system. Still, you're listening to people. Still, you're listening to your preachers or teachers without using your brain, without analyzing yourself, the Word of God. You know, it's going to be very difficult. You're going to be facing a difficult problem, difficult situation, difficult time. At times you will be broken into pieces. So I'm telling to you guys, I'm warning you, this is going to be a very, very difficult thing for you guys to, even think of it. But this is the truth. Whether you accept it or not, that's up to you. It may look like that I'm against Christianity, I'm against there's so many religions. It is not against. I was once in Christianity for several years. I was a very staunch person at that one. I mean, I still have my heart for all the Christianity and Christian people, but that doesn't mean that I'm not leaving this, because once I tasted this one, I would never leave this one from here, because this is the truth. This is the only way. I found it and I got it, not just like that to listen to somebody, some messages or some pastor or minister comes and tells some jokes and makes me understand something. No, I studied, I went through, I got certified. I took some years to work on these, to find these facts. I analyzed the Bible from compare from the New Testament to the Old Testament. I asked several questions to several rabbis. It took a lot of time for me to get a transformation from or understanding from one practice to another practice. It's not easy. Change management is not easy to do that. But I'm urging you guys, there is no other, because you might think because all the Christians would think this guy is a sinner, he is against Jesus. No, I am also having a God where that you guys are not having thought of that process. That's a problem, because you still want to go in one way, but I'm already having a contact with the same God you're trying to approach through somebody else. That's the problem. So again, I'm warning to you guys, the chapter 1 mark, we have noticed these many things are happening right now. So go ahead, think about this and analyze it. If you have any questions or anything, talk to me. Let us do a conversation. If you think that you can make me as a Christian, please talk to me. Put your arguments in the comment section. Let us talk each other and let us find out what is the right way and truthfully. But according to me, I'm already finalized. This is the right way because I've been through everything and I got it. So folks, I think I talked too much today, so we will start the next chapters, Mark 2, by next time when I meet you guys. So till then, Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov, may God bless you, God be with you, and take care. Bye-bye.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ואת נעשה בחפצו כל
זי מלך שמו נקרא
ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא
והוא היה והוא הווה והוא הווה והוא יהיה ולהיבהר דנון על השמלך על פתם כל יביצם קרא איז נש אמת כל עשי מלך ומבקרה
לעשות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא
והוא ראויה בביתי פרה ואדמה ושם אלנק בטן גורי גורי
נמצא בחץ הכל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה ותפארה והוא הווה והוא יהיה
ביתי פרה
אדון עולם